Hello, and welcome to Tea and Tarot. I'm your host, Em. In this podcast, we dive into the world of tarot each week, along with a cup of tea. Some weeks, we dive into readings, others into the cards themselves, and some we explore learning about tarot. Today we're diving into a topic that's rich and flavorful as your favorite tea, tarot and mythology. Before we get started, let me introduce this week's tea. Rose hip tea is a fruity, tangy infusion made from the seed pods of rose plants. Its vibrant, tart flavor is both refreshing and invigorating. I enjoy its high vitamin C content and the way it brightens my day. This tea is a delightful way to enjoy a burst of natural fruitiness. So grab your favorite mug, get cozy, and let's explore this fascinating world where cards meet legends. You know, I've always been a bit of a mythology nerd. As a kid, I'd spend hours reading about Greek gods and Norse legends. Little did I know that years later, I would find those same stories echoing in my tarot deck. It's like finding an old friend in an unexpected place. So let's start with the basics. What do tarot and mythology have in common? Well, both are packed with symbols and archetypes to tell us something about the human experience. It's like we're speaking a universal language of the soul. Take the Fool card, for example. This carefree character stepping off a cliff might remind you of Icarus from Greek mythology. You know, the guy who flew too close to the sun? Both represent the spirit of adventure and the risks that come with it. It's like the card is saying, hey, sometimes you gotta take that leap of faith. But maybe check if you've got your wings first. Or how about the Empress? She's often associated with the Greek goddess Demeter, who represents fertility, motherhood, and the abundance of nature. When this card pops up in a reading, it's like Demeter herself is reminding you to nurture your ideas or to appreciate the abundance in your life. Maybe it's time to plant those seeds, literal or metaphorical, you've been thinking about. Now let's talk about the Emperor. This guy often gets linked to Zeus, the king of the Greek gods. Both represent authority, structure, and leadership. But here's the fun twist. In Norse mythology, you might connect him to Odin, the All-Father. It's like the card is channeling that wise, sometimes stern father feeling, saying, get your act together, kid. Oh, and we can't forget about the Moon card. This mysterious lady is often associated with Hecate, the Greek goddess of magic and crossroads. In many cultures, the moon is linked to intuition, dreams, and the subconscious. When this card appears, it's like Hecate is whispering, trust your gut. There's more going on than meets the eye. But it's not just the major arcana that's steeped in mythology. The minor arcana suits have connections too. Wands, think about the Greek god Apollo and his golden arrows of inspiration. Cups, that's Aphrodite's domain, with love and emotions. Swords cut through confusion like Athena's wisdom. And pentacles, well, that's Hades' treasure, reminding us of the material world. Now, I know that some of you might be thinking, but wait, I don't know much about mythology. How can I use this to help me in my readings? Don't worry. You don't need to know much about mythology to tap into the wellspring of wisdom. Here's a little exercise that you can try. Next time you do a reading, pick a card and ask yourself if this were a character in a myth, what would their story be? Let your imagination run wild. Maybe the Two of Cups reminds you of Romeo and Juliet. Or perhaps the Tower makes you think of the fall of Troy. There's no right or wrong answer. It's all about finding connections that resonate with you. Understanding these mythological connections can add so much depth to your readings. It's like each card becomes a portal to a timeless story and universal truths. Plus, it's just plain fun. Who doesn't love a good story? Before I wrap up, I want to share a quick personal story. A while back, I was doing a reading for a friend who was struggling to make a really big decision. The Hanged Man card came up, and I remembered its connection to Odin hanging from the wild tree to gain wisdom. I shared this with my friend, and something just seemed to click for her. She realized that sometimes we need to look at things from a different perspective to find the answers that we seek. It was a powerful moment, and all thanks to just this mythological connection. So there you have it, a whirlwind tour through the mythological landscape of tarot. I hope this has inspired you to dive a little deeper into these connections and maybe see your cards in a new light. Before I go, I'd love to hear from you. What's your favorite mythological connection in tarot? Or maybe you've had a reading where mythology played a big role. Drop me a comment or reach out on social media. Always love hearing your stories and insights. And thank you for joining me on today's episode. If you enjoyed today's discussion, please do subscribe or find me on social media. I hope to see you again next week. Until then, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep learning.